Hi, submarine friends. I know I've been away for quite a while now. It's been like over 3 weeks since I've made a video, and that's because I have not worked on the submarine. I've been working for a living. So we jacked up a house, and now we're doing a big retaining wall project on the lake. So it's going to be a couple weeks before I can get back to work on this. But today I'm just in here checking to see what I need to order, and so that when the time comes I can get right back at it. So one thing that did come is I've got this nifty little check valve. I'm pretty happy with it. For the money, it's terrific. So what I'm going to do, I actually just found this fitting and this little piece of short hose, and it's clear. I kind of like that it's clear because this is going to go right up here, and it's the vent. It's the vent for the fuel tank. So this goes to the very top of the fuel tank, and then this is the suction and the return. You can see I still have to clean that up and paint it because I welded it on the outside and it gets pretty hot. But anyways, I think this looks pretty good, this whole fuel installation. Everything, of course, has a shut-off valve. So, shut-off valve on the vent as well. So a one-way check valve so that when the fuel draws down in the tank, and it's a really small tank, so when the fuel draws down, it needs air to go in. So that check valve allows it to do that, and it won't get stinky. So let's say, it shouldn't happen, but it could. Let's say that I get some smell. So what I would do then is I would extend this line from the check valve through this ring here and all the way to the conning tower, and then I can have an outside vent. So there would be a shut-off valve here and then a shut-off valve there, which would really suck. So I'm really hoping that this works, and it should. Like, it's really good little check valve. So the other thing that I did before I went back to work, and it was a cold day and didn't want to work in here, that's another thing. When it's really cold in here, even with the heater, I have a hard time enjoying this. And if I'm not enjoying it, I might as well wait until I can work on it and enjoy it. So, like today is pretty warm in here, so this is good. So this is the electric penetrator that I made for the thruster motors. So we've got 4 wires coming in. So these have to be, this wire now has to be taped into a bundle. And then I have to measure how long these have to be. I just made them extra long. And then, so I'll measure how far it is from the hole in the hull where this screws in to the junction box, and then I'll shrink tube ends on these, and then they'll just attach. Now, I don't have reverse on my electric thrusters. There's 2 reasons for that. One is the propellers are completely useless in reverse. Well, okay, that's an exaggeration. They're not completely useless, but they're extremely useless. So I don't know that reverse really is going to be much of a help. So anyways, so these are actually wired. 2 of these wires are just the ground for each motor, and then these 2 wires, or whichever, are the power to each motor. Now the second reason I don't have reverse is I don't have speed controllers. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is they're really expensive. It's going to be like $600 to put speed controllers on the 2 motors. And because this submarine is so heavy and so big, I think they're just, when I use them, I'm just going to have full power. Like, I don't know that I need speed controllers. So I'm not rushing into getting speed controllers until I'm diving this thing and I see what I really actually need. Maybe I will need reverse. Maybe I'll have to have a forward thruster up front here pointing back to push the thing back. I don't know. I just don't know, because they're not huge motors, but I know they're sufficient because I had them on a submarine that was 6,000 pounds, and it was the only thing powering that submarine, those 2 motors. So now it's pushing a 9,000 pound sub, but only submerged. Or if I have to come up to the dock quietly or something like that, or I have to sneak out quietly, whatever. because, you know, it's totally silent. So anyways, that's the story on the thruster. So back to the penetrator. This thing really turned out nice. So all I did is I machined a plastic piece right here on the end of this threaded nipple, and I drilled 4 holes, and then I put the wires in, and the wires are really tight to those holes. So they're actually tight enough so that when I pour epoxy in here, it doesn't leak past. So then I have metal threaded rods going through here, and the wires are connected to the metal threaded rods, and then those rods travel through the epoxy. Now I'm calling it epoxy, but it's actually not epoxy. I used casting resin for this. I really like using casting resin. I don't know if it's cheaper or more money, but you know, you can buy 2 containers about this big and about that fat, so whatever that is. And I think I paid $60 or something like that, and you can make a lot of penetrators with that amount of resin. And it seems to last on the shelf. They say the shelf life is not that great, but it seems to last just fine. So anyways, I'm really happy with this. I'm really confident in this. It's really bulletproof because I put the threaded rods through. So now all I do is I push these wires through the weld-in nipple, and then I just thread this thing in like so. Sort of thread tape on here, and that's it. And then I just cut these wires that go to the motors to the right length, shrink tube them on, and it's done. So this thing is actually really, really close to being ready to fire up. I think I just have to put fuel in it in this vent. It's been 3 weeks since I worked on it, so I have to go through everything in case, you know, I left something not perfect. So I just have to put fuel in the tank, turn on the electric pump, and get the whole system circulating. And then, oh, that's another thing I want to do. Right now, my electrical stuff is grounded to the hull, and I don't like that at all. So I want to put in a shielded stud for ground right here. You can't see it, but below this panel. And also, I want to run a ground cable from my engine to the engine battery. Right now, the hull is the ground, and that's no good. So I'm going to run a ground cable. The less grounding on the hull, the better. But I have no choice. The engine is grounded because of the exhaust system. I don't have a water-cooled exhaust. It's not a wet exhaust, so that means it's solid to the engine, so it grounds the engine. Even though the engine is on rubber mounts, it's still grounded because the flexible coupler is stainless steel. So I think it'll be fine, especially with these super duper anodes that I'm going to install. I've got 2 of these. I think I mentioned that in the last video. So this guy here just gets welded to the hull. I'm going to put 1 at each end, and then I thread these sacrificial anodes, and they're just hot water tank anodes. They're not zinc, they're magnesium. You use magnesium in fresh water and zinc in salt water. You can also use aluminum, but it doesn't work as good as this stuff. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use these. And I already got them. So that's what's going on. I have not given up. I have not moved away. I have not changed my mind. I just have to make some money to make a living. And so, like I said, in a couple weeks, the hard stuff is done, and I can step back, and my son can take over and finish the project. I'll have to come and go, but that's okay. As long as I can work on this 3 or 4 days a week, I'll be pretty happy. And then we are very close to putting it back in the test pool. I have to dig the test pool back up, but once I'm back to work on this, I would say within 1 week, I would be back in the water. And then, so I expect by June, I'm a month late, but by June I should be able to throw it in the lake. That's very exciting. It has been really nice to have a break though, because, you know, when you work on a project for this long, it gets old. Even though you're having lots of fun and you're right into it, it still gets old. So it's good to take a break. And I'm glad I took a break. I'm still on a break. But now it's a forced break because I have to make some money. So anyways, that's my update. Don't give up on me. I will be back and we will be in the water soon. Ciao.